Hey, I know it's been forever, guys? I think last one I recorded was back in April. I don't think I actually posted that one yet, but yeah. So I actually got to do a tell all for this one, and I know I'm gonna burn some bridges, but you know what? I really don't give a fuck anymore. I'm just gonna say it, shoot from the hip, speak from the heart, because it has to be told to understand the story. So back in April, I quit my other job. I ended up getting a new job. Had that goal in place back when I was recovering from surgery. Needless to say, things went my way. I got hired, and before people ask, yes, it's paying a little bit less than what I was getting as a manager for McDonald's, but at the same time, guess what? Sometimes money isn't the be all end all. Your mental health and your happiness comes before anything else. Okay? So, to understand my frustrations as to why I left my other job, it's a huge story. Okay? So, when I first joined McDonald's, this was going back in 2002. It was a very interesting time in my life because I had just moved to the neighborhood, just finally got my working papers. They were the ones that hired me right on the spot. The local grocery chain didn't want me. The convenience store thought I was too young. I got that. But then, McDonald's took a chance on me, hired me. I almost quit within a couple months because I was getting treated horribly by the crew that I work with. Not to mention, our GM at that time was such a fucking prick. And of course, I ended up encountering him when I worked for CVS, and he was still a prick. So, yeah, take that for what it was worth. But, you know, I thought I was going to be gone by the time I got into college. Did internships. I thought I was going to get into radio or TV just like that. And, well, guess what? Didn't happen, so I was at McDonald's. Worked for Big Dog 1035 for about 7 years, but they would only offer me Sundays and Saturdays with the occasional evening shift here and there for the high school sports schedule. Understood, but they didn't want to develop me. So I was stuck at McDonald's. When I became a manager, kind of got dicked the first time, so I went to part time, worked elsewhere, had all my health issues. Then, I said, you know what? Let me run back the management situation. Ran it back. Ended up being a manager for close to a decade. Can't really complain because that's a pretty damn good run. But I think all the problems started back in 2022. I have to say that because I made a goal and I made a deal with the guy who was our store supervisor at that specific time. And immediately it went from a plane here, few months of a high, and then it just rock bottomed. I was told, hey, work on a 5-year plan. That way we can get you into being a GM or an assistant GM, and I was all for that. They split McDonald's up into 3 different departments for department head managers. You had people department, guest services, and kitchen. I was the guest services. Fucking did phenomenal, right? Year later, I get moved into people, and that's where all the problems started. Sorry, guys. But where all the problems started, they put me in the department because the person who originally was the lead quit. She took every binder that she had for that department. So I literally had to build it from scratch. and things were not going well. Every time I would ask for assistance or try to be pointed in the right direction, something else is screwy, you know. And I was constantly butting heads with our HR when they came to do the audits. I was told, you're making excuses, you're doing this, you're doing that. And it was like, no, I'm telling you clear cut and dry what's going on, why it's going on. And plain and simple, I can't really do this without this help here and maybe an assistant here or there, you know. And they didn't want to hear it, so they literally screwed me royally in that department. I mean, hell, when your assistant GM comes back after a 7 month, 8 month layoff because they wanted to do something else and they took your part of your job from you and then give it back to you and then take it away from you and then give it back to you, all because they wanted to micromanage how schedules were being done and how everything else is being done. That made no sense to me. And I saw that. I'm like, you know what? This is fucked up. And then what made it even more screwed up was the fun fact that when they went to go shuffle the department heads again, instead of putting me in the next logical step, which would be kitchen, they put me back into guest services, which was an ultimate slap in my face. Kind of got a little fed up. And then we had to focus on our managers in training. I was given this one kid who had just came back to the store because he really needed the money and needed to do more. They also had somebody in MIT who essentially was buddy with this store GM, and she had already quit 4 times, and yet they were like, oh well, we don't know if you would be a good manager, we need to see how you would do, things like that. She got verified, she was pushed. What happened with the kid I was training, they never put us on side by side. Whenever we did work together, we were always fucked because we were down a closer or other situations would arise, so couldn't really assist the kid. So he got pissed off. I don't blame him, And that right there was the first notch that caused me to start thinking about things. And then 2025. 2025 was the year everything just went to go downhill and made a lot of sense to me. So we had gone through, in 2025 alone, 4 different store supervisors. First one, I understood why they kind of got rid of him, because he had like 6 different stores he was trying to oversee. So laying the load on him, I understood that. He also, the person that took over for him, was a longtime manager for McDonald's for like 20 plus years. She quit after a month. Okay. They brought in a woman who looked like the troll that lived under the fucking bridge. And trust me, I will get to that broad in a minute, because she was a major reason for me wanting to get out of Dodge. And then when she got fired, they actually replaced her with our old store GM, who, surprise, surprise, a month after I left the organization, he got fired. Seems to me like there's a issue with corporate trying to see things differently through their supervisors' perspectives, but that's neither here or there. This is about why I walked away from McDonald's. So, when we got our employee surveys back, and this is a thing, guys, every year employees scan a QR code and they fill out a survey about everything that they feel needs to be improved on. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a good result at all. They felt like they had to sit everybody down one by one because they were trying to find out who wrote the bad things. Trust me, I didn't tell them what I wrote. I told them, hey, things could be better, but we're doing what we can. Trust me, things were shit at that store. When you have constant equipment breaking down, when you have a backline fryer that 3 out of the 5 fryers work, a French fry fryer where one of the vats has been broken for over a year, when you have a toaster that is constantly having issues, even though you just bought the damn thing, and you have broken down equipment, and you have tiles that come loose and break in the dish area, and you've had a sink in the dish area that has been busted for 10 years that's supposed to automatically start and tumble and everything else. Yeah. You don't care about your store. You don't staff enough. You don't follow what you're supposed to for your training program. And you have managers who are more worried about what they're going to do outside of work than what they're doing in the store, which some managers did not follow the fraternization policy and the orientation guidelines. Just thought I'd throw that one out there. Yeah, crew were not happy. So they figured they would get rid of a couple managers, swap some out, bring in a new supervisor, and that immediately took everything and made it go downhill. The manager that we ended up getting should have been fired from the other location that she was at because, one, she treated employees like shit. She treated crew like shit. She sexually harassed a 16-year-old girl, and corporate, instead of firing her, said, oh, we saw nothing. That never happened. I'm sorry, I thought you were supposed to take those kind of accusations seriously. Is it because she looks like a hideous chud of a human being? So, yeah, they sent one of our best managers packing to that location. He quit within a week. We had another manager who usually ran shift. She quit by the end of the summer. The manager that replaced me in the people department rage quit 3 times between August and October before he walked away. But that kind of ties into our supervisor that we had. So that supervisor, Elaine, yes, I will name names, the troll under the bridge, as I used to refer to her as, she had a very huge problem, okay? So she worked for the organization through a different owner-operator 25 years prior. She got fired for 2 reasons. One, they were looking to trim the fat because they were getting ready to close that location she was at. And 2, because she would verbally harass employees and customers. So why the hell was she hired? Did they think, oh, 25 years is enough? Let's see how things go. Well, the moment she got there, she started treating our store like it was a Nazi boot camp. I'm sorry, you don't do that. You don't treat the store like a Nazi boot camp. You treat the people there with respect. You want respect from your crew, you show them respect. You want respect from your managers, you don't sit there and butt them out of the way to do their job for them. You let them do their job, and if they screw up, you coach them, you guide them. You also don't sit there and put all your eggs into one manager's basket and treat the other managers like they don't matter. Oh, yes, this Elaine broad did just that. She treated everybody like shit except for the hideous chud that came to our store. Shrekzilla, Jamie. Yeah. So, she had the balls to say things to other managers, like she told the one manager that rage quit, Cody. She told him that she didn't have, quote unquote, time to work with him, and she refused to work alongside him. Stop me if I'm wrong, but if you're a supervisor for a restaurant, shouldn't your job be to listen to all your managers, listen to their concerns, talk to them, coach them, try to get everybody on the same playing field, not sit there and treat them like they don't matter because they're not the one they want to focus on? Yeah. And her and I butted heads a couple times too. I mean, I remember one time she got nasty about our maintenance guy because he was moving a little slow. Spoiler alert, this guy has a traumatic brain injury and a neurological disability. When I brought that up, she turned her nose in the air and walked away from me because she knew I was right. You know, you don't sit there and talk shit about somebody who's disabled for at least putting an effort to do their job, not sitting there and ignoring it because they're moving too slow for you. Biggest thing that came in October of last year, I had to have surgery. Well, I found out I was going to have surgery around October, November last year. Surgery was in January, okay? And when I had to break the news to everybody that I was going to be out, two different responses. First one, my GM. Respectful. Understood. Said, hey, if you need something, we'll help you. You know, just let us know. Elaine, the troll under the bridge. Her response, when she asked me how long I was going to be out for and I gave her the time frame, I didn't get alright. I didn't get okay then. Just let us know. You know what I received? The eye roll. I'm sorry. Who the fuck are you? Is that making a cramp in your store because I have to have surgery? Maybe if I wasn't the fucking manager who had to deal with all the bullshit, maybe if I wasn't the manager who had to pick up the fucking slack, maybe I wouldn't have had to have that surgery. Did you ever think that? Nope. She rolled her eyes. As soon as that happened, I said in the back of my brain, fuck this woman, fuck this place. When surgery comes, I'm going to start looking and I'm going to be done. Sure enough, had surgery in January, came back in March, had several interviews, and then in April, I was gone. You know. But in the wake of, before I ended up leaving, you could already see a lot of the writing on the wall. Like, we had one guy who was coming in as a manager from Taco Bell who wanted to become a manager. They kept pushing him aside. We went from having 5 closers down to 2. Okay? We ended up having to double up on managers and putting an MIT on because we had the one who got screwed over as an MIT quit the week before my surgery. And then the day after my last shift before my surgery, we had another employee who tweaked out and threatened a manager. So he got fired. And that just left the bare minimum for closers. Well, guess what? Things did not change. There was maybe one person who was hired in my absence. And you know what happened? That person now no longer works at the store because they had an issue with their living accommodations, and from what I'm hearing, they got screwed out of hours. We also had a fresh out of high school, a kid who wanted to close, but because, he lives under his parents' roof, they wouldn't allow him to. So now, once again, they only got two closers, two managers, and our solid dish hand. She quit when I was out on my leave as well. But when I left that store, it made me laugh because I wanted to stay. I'll be real. I wanted to see what they could do for me. And turns out they weren't going to do much. Turns out they were going to demote me, which when you're a manager for 10 years, you don't get demoted. Okay? That's an insult. That's a slap in the face. And it also opens up the floodgates for if shit goes wrong in your store, then every Karen, every Chad, every Kyle will sit there and say, oh, well, you used to be a manager and you're not anymore. You couldn't cut the mustard. And it would allow for all that stuff, which anyone who knows me knows you want to trigger me, trust me, I will go off. But then they also wanted to transfer me. For one, the store they wanted to send me to is probably the worst store around. And then on top of that, the only other option, unfortunately, I couldn't really do anything because, hey, kind of seeing the closing manager from that store. So that would have been a conflict of interest. And that ended my tenure. But the thing about my last day at McDonald's was, yeah, it was bittersweet, but I'm going to put you into two trains of thought here. First one was when I left the original location I was at back in 2014. I was in tears that day after my last shift. I was crying. I did not want to get transferred. This go round, when my last shift happened, I literally sat in my car and breathed a sigh of relief. Reason being, I was happy to get the hell out of Dodge, okay? 24 years, 12 at that location, 10 as a manager at that location. Felt like I overstayed my welcome in more ways than one. Store is a sinking ship. And the more I talk to certain people that still work there, that are looking to get out of that place or have, it makes me glad that I was the first one to jump off the ship. I mean, granted, there were a couple others before me, but it wasn't the impact that I had. And I do want to say something, and I know those in McDonald's corporate for the location I was at will see this, but I'm going to share some advice. So, first off, if you really want to improve your stores, pay attention. Don't sit there and say, oh, well, we'll listen to everything, we'll take everything into consideration. Because you don't. Okay? You would have seen exactly what was going on if you didn't swap out our best manager for a manager who pretty much needs a vibrator. Let's just be real. Although that would be a scary sight to see. But when you say to your people that, oh, all our employees who are here long term all our legacy employees, we care about them. You didn't care enough to actually try to convince me to stay now, did you? And then on top of that, the other thing you gotta pay attention to is your hiring needs, okay? If you have way too many people on another restaurant's roster, look around at logistics. Look to see where they're closest to and say, hey, this store might need more help than the store you applied at. Are you okay with going to that place? Or look at who you're hiring. Okay? I don't want to use this term, but there were a lot of diversity hires in the last 6 months at my store. And I'm not sitting there coming off like a hateful person saying that. I'm being truthful. I had not seen one white person apply at McDonald's in the last 6 months I was there. And every single employee that we had that applied there didn't last longer than 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Reason being, it was, I'm not going to say below them, but a lot of them didn't have the training they should have gotten. A lot of them didn't have the know-how, and a lot of people, I know this might come as a huge shock, but McDonald's used to have a very strict training, one of the best training in the world. And in the last several years, that training's gone by the wayside. It went from 3 days of orientation and you had 3 shadow days where you were with one specific trainer to, oh, our store doesn't have enough trainers, so you're going to be put with this person this day, another person the second day, and another person the third day. That makes no sense because then the person's going to get confused. Then you have those who don't pay attention at orientation and they keep breaking all the protocols that you put in place. Like, how many times in my last month did I have to remind one of the high schoolers to put her phone away? And every time she would just break it out as soon as I would walk away. Yeah. Phone, it's not an emergency, but yeah, they still pop on their phones, still do this, still do that. But they also, like I said, the owner-operators need to also pay attention to the needs of each shift, okay? When Shrekzilla is over here hiring for all afternoons and all mornings, but yet the high schoolers she hires are 15, that's not going to help me. It's not going to help a closing manager. If they're hiring everybody for days and nobody for nights, what does that tell you? It tells you only care to stock up your shifts and your shifts alone, and you don't really give a flying fuck about your night people. Okay? That's the big reason why I left, because nobody gave a shit about the night crew. And I was tired of carrying the load. Only reason I agreed to work closes for the school year last year, plain and simple. Schedule conflicts within my dad's work schedule, my mom's work schedule, my sister's bus schedule. Easier for me to close. It didn't mean I was going to be there till 1:30, 2 in the fucking morning picking up slack. But guess what? It happened. And I got sick and fucking tired very quickly. And a lot of people don't realize this, but I was close to a mental breakdown. I literally probably would be dead right now if I was still there, because they don't care. They truly don't fucking care about their product, about their stores, about their people. And do I sound a little bitter? Yes. I should. I spent 24 years of my life, 24 years I will never get back, working at a company because I thought everything would get better. I thought that by, becoming a verified manager, things would be better for me. I thought that by agreeing to do department leadership, I would grow, develop, and become, a GM. that became clear that wasn't going to happen almost 2 years into a 5-year plan, you know? And even more so, wanted to see everything just get better at that place. And the moment you see what's going on and your mind sees otherwise, then yeah, then you have a choice to make. And it was a difficult choice, but it was an easy choice to make at the same time because I was ready to get out of there. And, you know, I think a lot of people now see that without me there, your product sucks. Your business has gone downhill. Oh, and before I forget, you guys forgot to take me off of take my email out of certain things. So I still get all the customer survey results sent to my emails. And it just makes me laugh when I see all bad ratings. You know, and that sucks, but it is what it is. But gotta say, ever since I left that place, I'm the happiest I've ever been. You know, and it's about damn fucking time I'm happy too.